of what the member raises.
Question number 7, the Honourable David Parker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My questions to the Minister of Finance. Does he stand by his statement, quote, "The government is doing everything it can to give businesses the confidence to invest, grow and create new jobs"? If so, what was the net change in filled jobs in the private sector from December 2008 to December 2011, according to Statistics New Zealand's quarterly employment survey?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
On behalf of the Minister of Finance, yes, I do stand by that statement, and the official measure of employment and unemployment, which is the Household Labour Force Survey, shows that 57,000 extra New Zealanders are in a job now than 2 years ago. In contrast, the quarterly employment survey that the member raises has a number of gaps. It does not include agriculture, for example, which is reasonably significant in the New Zealand context, or the self-employed, which is also significant, and excludes around 500,000 jobs in the economy. With that in mind, over the period the member has selected, that series reports the number of filled jobs fell by 30,000, but it's also important to note that that loss happened in just one single quarter at the height of the recession and the global financial crisis.
The Honourable David Parker.
Why does he prefer the measure of the Household Labour Force Survey when just about everyone other than him knows that it includes someone that has 3 jobs, each of which could be an hour long, as 3 more people employed in New Zealand?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, actually the member's choice of documents is quite amusing. It is interesting to note, though, the reason we choose it is the official measure, but don't take our word for it. Between 1999 and 2008, the number of press releases issued by the previous government that mentioned the Household Labour Force Survey was 78. The number that mentioned the quarterly employment survey the member refers to today was 2. So I think the previous government was in favour of the Household Labour Force Survey as well.
Supplementary.
David Parker.
Given his preference for the Household Labour Force Survey, given that it now shows there are 162,000 people unemployed as of June 2012, does it concern him that on that measure there are more New Zealanders unemployed than at any point under this government?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, I'm not sure about the veracity of the last statement that the member made in that question, but what I can say to him is that obviously...
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallett.
Mr Speaker, a member is not allowed to question another member's veracity. The member made a statement in this House. He can say he doesn't agree with it, but he can't question his veracity.
To disagree with the veracity of it, I think is getting too precious altogether. And I've never known the Honourable Member himself to be quite so precious, to be fair. The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, as I said, I'm not sure about that last statement that the member has raised, but I can say, of course, the government is very keen to have more New Zealanders employed. We're actually doing pretty well relative to the rest of the world. I appreciate not compared to Planet Labour, but we've had, of course, the global financial crisis. We've had the Canterbury earthquakes, and actually we're making good progress. And I note, Mr Speaker, that in the business confidence survey released today, something like 26% of businesses were expecting an increase in activity over the next 12 months, and that's very encouraging for jobs in this country.
The Honourable David Parker.
Point of order.
Point of order, the Honourable David Parker.
I seek leave to table a document prepared by the Parliamentary Library showing that according to the Household Labour Force Survey, unemployment is now 162,000 and that it's the highest that it has been under this government.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Paul Goldsmith, supplementary.
Speaker, to the Minister, could the Minister please remind the House what is the official measure of unemployment?
The question actually should be, I guess, what is the official measure of unemployment, not because what the member actually said was not actually a question. I invite him to actually pose it as a question.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. What is the official measure of unemployment?
With the Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, the official measure of unemployment and employment is the Household Labour Force Survey, which shows some 57,000 extra New Zealanders are in a job now than 2 years ago, Mr Speaker. and that's a good news story for New Zealand. And as I said to the House before, the further good news is that business confidence in terms of own expectations is growing very significantly, and actually we're coming out of the global financial crisis, which I know didn't occur on planet Labour, very well.
The Honourable David Parker.
If he came to this House prepared to say that the official measure of employment and unemployment is the Household Labour Force Survey, why couldn't he answer my question, which asked him directly whether that was now showing unemployment at 162,000, and confirm that that's the highest that it has been under his government?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, the point is that I acknowledged in the question that it is higher than we all would like, I think everybody in this House, but the government is working very hard to improve the confidence of New Zealand businesses, and as I say, the business confidence survey that came out today is another indicator that that is occurring. It's a very difficult time for the world, but in New Zealand we've had a GDP growth rate of 0.6% in the last quarter, which is one of the best in the world and is equivalent to Australia. In the first quarter we had a very good GDP growth figure as well. So yes, it's tough, but we're growing, and that's positive.
The Honourable David Parker.
Does he still stand by the promise made during the 2011 election campaign to create 170,000 more jobs?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, yes, and I'd note that we're actually making some pretty good progress with 57,000 new jobs over the last couple of years.
Point of order, the Honourable David Parker.
My question was whether he stood by the promise at the election to create 170,000 more jobs.
Well, order, the Minister said yes.
Fair enough.
He did. Yeah. Question number 8, John Hayes.
Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Broadcasting. What percentage of households in Hawke's Bay and on the west coast of the South Island